The news hit last night. Former President Donald Trump, Florida home searched by the FBI. The FBI searched former President Donald Trump's residence at his Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida on Monday. According to the New York Times, the search appears to be focused on material, including many pages of classified documents that Trump allegedly brought with him when he left the White House. All presidential records are owned by the public and should be automatically transferred into the custody of the National Archives as soon as the president leaves office, per the Presidential Records Act of 1978. In addition to the myriad of crimes that we already know that Donald Trump has committed, apparently this is the one which they're saying is why they raided him in the first place. The fact that he basically took a bunch of classified documents with him on the way out when he left the White House. I'm going to guess that these documents are pretty incriminating. And now he appears to either be just holding on to them or even more interestingly, potentially trying to destroy them as evidence, which is why the FBI seemingly had to intervene to raid his place and collect this evidence. At least that seems to be what's going on so far. But what was your initial reaction to this, Zach? Because again, this all went down last night. I don't think anyone was expecting this on either side of the political aisle. I definitely was not expecting this. We've been talking a little bit about the January 6th hearings, and both of us have basically predicted that Trump's going to, squeak out of this totally clean, that just like every other investigation before it, he's going to beat the investigators and, slither his way out, so to speak. But this appears to be getting pretty serious. I have a hard time believing that the FBI would literally raid Mar-a-Lago if there wasn't some pretty sketchy shit going on.
If you want to know my initial reaction, it was fuck. Because I have this like $20 standing bet that Trump won't get indicted before September 1st. I was like, God damn it, I had 3 weeks until that paid out. Because, look, I think that Donald Trump is a criminal, but I think all of our presidents are criminals. And I have no reason to believe that the United States is going to bring the hammer down or had none until we get this news right here, that the United States was going to really bring the hammer down. I thought that January 6th committee was all pomp and circumstance. It was all flattery. It was all like, oh, we're going to bring back the area of respectability and like shame these people that, we disagree with, even though we fucking destabilize democracies all over the fucking globe and don't give a shit about that and have no real ground to stand on. So all of that was kind of in the forefront of my mind, but as essentially, this I think does make me a little more skeptical that they won't bring any kind of indictment against him. But to be honest, if I'm laying my fucking flag in the ground early, I'm going to go ahead and say that I think that he's still going to get out with this. I don't think that Donald Trump will ever in his life spend a day in jail. So this might definitely end up with him getting like court cases or problems. But the reality is, I think that Donald Trump has successfully made himself too powerful. I think he will run again for presidency to avoid any kind of serious problem, buy himself more time, do everything he can to make this look like a political maneuvering. And I just think that they might like stain him with stuff. They might try and make him show up to court. But to be honest, I don't even imagine a scenario where we actually have to see Donald Trump put behind the stand and actually have to stand trial for these crimes. I just don't. I think that the United States establishment, for as much as they deride Trump, they don't really like the look of having their fucking president or former president up there in current political, player, right? Regardless of what role that is, whether that's like kingmaker for somebody or, actually running for president again. I just don't see them going through with that and making that whole case. Maybe I'm wrong. But to me, if we divorce the ethics of the situation, I don't think I see that actually happening. You know what I mean? Do you think that they'll actually like put him in handcuffs and bring him to like a fucking trial?
I would have totally agreed with you, Zach, but if they weren't planning on something, then why do you think they would have sent the feds to raid Mar-a-Lago? Like, usually if feds are showing up at your crib, especially if you're the former president, we already know there's a much higher standard for presidents and former presidents. If they're sending feds to Mar-a-Lago, seems like something's pretty sketchy is going on. Seems like something they wouldn't do if they didn't feel like they absolutely had to, because whatever they've uncovered is just that criminal. So again, I would have agreed with you literally up until last night. But if there wasn't something in the works, then I really have a hard time believing they would have they would have set up this raid and gone there in the first place. And also, some people have pointed out that even if he doesn't get criminally charged and actually thrown behind bars, which, yeah, is still, probably like a 50% chance at most of happening, they could still potentially bar him from running for office again because of his violation of the 1978 Records Collection Act, or whatever it was called. So that also might be the end goal here, is just to basically make it so that he is no longer eligible to serve in a federal office.
Yeah, that there's definitely, like, you can't deny that that's a potential outcome. I'm more skeptical about it probably than you are at this moment still, just because why wouldn't they have? I think that definitely the most likely outcome is that they could go somewhere like that route where they ban him from running for office again. But I'm still a little bit skeptical about that, just because they could have done that already, right? When they were going through the impeachment process, but they didn't. They didn't prohibit.
He was still the president, though, at that point.
I guess that's true. And to give you another example, though, of the FBI doing nothing, I mean, we were just talking about Richard Burr the other day. They raided that guy's house. They got his cell phone, and they didn't charge that guy with a damn single fucking thing. So I'm just saying it wouldn't be like unfounded for them to just do this as a, like, yeah, they're doing this, but then it doesn't go anywhere from here. I'm not 100% convinced that this is going to materialize in anything. There's been time and time again where it's the smoking gun for Donald Trump, where finally it's the time where he's going to have to like stand trial for his wrongdoings. And I don't know, man. He's a slippery bastard. I just don't think they're going to get him.
I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't think they would have done this raid if there was nothing there. If there was no smoking gun, if they didn't have any real evidence to seriously charge him or, indict him or whatever. I just have a hard time believing that they would have raided the dude's crib. I mean, that's a pretty dramatic escalation of events for a former president. And obviously, as you said, Zach, I would be in favor of pretty much all former presidents receiving the same treatment. They should all be fucking tried at The Hague, for their war crimes and other crimes. But that being said, I'm not going to shed a tear for motherfucking Donald Trump, like so many right wingers are doing right now. I did want to take a look at some of the reactions from some of his sycophantic base. Let's take a look here, because this is just so hypocritical, guys. Let's take a look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. The FBI is raiding President Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. This is the rogue behavior of communist countries, not the United States of America. These are the type of things that happen in countries during civil war, which is ironic because it's the right wing, which is constantly horny for a civil war. The political persecution must stop. And then look at this. She posted an upside down America flag, fucking going all like full Antifa as soon as fucking Trump gets raided by the feds. So funny. Here's another one: defund the FBI, which obviously I agree with, but is kind of ironic again that now all these right wingers are turning into like defund the fucking police types. And again, this is all incredibly supremely ironic to me, because I'm old enough to remember the 2016 presidential primary, and what were the Trump people constantly chanting at their rallies, and what were they saying should happen to Hillary Clinton? I recall it being something like lock her up, correct?
Yeah, that or inject her with the Wuhan flu.
Well, that was not until 2020. But yeah, lock her up. I thought that the Trump people were cool with locking up their political opponents. Like, I thought that, didn't they kind of open the door to that suggestion? Wasn't that like their whole rallying cry, that we should lock up Hillary Clinton? I remember on the debate stage when Hillary said, well, thank God you're not in charge of the law enforcement. Donald Trump replied, yeah, because we'd lock your ass up, and everyone cheered. Like, that was one of his biggest moments ever. Again, literally suggesting the political imprisonment of his opponent. Here we have his very sycophants acting like, oh, now we live in a third world country. Now, all this crap. Here's another one from Candace Owens that I really quickly wanted to pull up. When again, Trump is the dude that literally normalized the idea of locking up your political opponents. Again, he said that was literally like a rallying cry at his rallies in 2016. Lock her up. Here's Candace Owens. The FBI must be legally and formally dissolved. What happened to President Trump is positively stunning and a mark of unchecked government power. I no longer recognize the country I live in, left or right. We must all come together to fight this evil. Again, motherfucker, Donald Trump was the one that normalized threats of imprisoning your political opponents. And obviously, I think Hillary is also a criminal. I think she was rightfully under investigation from the FBI for what happened with her emails. So I'm not, pro Democrat or pro Republican. What I am is pro holding politicians accountable to the same goddamn standards that all of us are held accountable to. And if one of them breaks the law in an obvious and flagrant way, as Donald Trump has clearly and repeatedly done, then yeah, lock his ass up.
Yeah, 100%. I just think that it is 100% true that if you lock up Donald Trump and you don't go ahead and, prosecute the other crimes of the other presidents, that you will create a massively pissed off subsect of the population. Now, you can tell those people to just fuck off, but you have to admit that that is the power balance of the United States working, and equitably. And of course, we already know it works inequitably, but that is a reality of the situation. So, I just think that I think that it is going to set an interesting precedent moving forward, right? Because then the right wing is going to definitely try and, prosecute Joe Biden. And I think that in a way, do you think that that'll open the door for some positive changes though? That's, that's the only good that I could see coming from this, right? Is that if this does set the ball in motion where it's we are going to prosecute our presidents for their crimes, that's great. But then, when Ron DeSantis gets into power, I hope there'll be 10 million fucking lawsuits about Joe Biden or whoever else. And not that I give a shit about that. I just think that, that is an interesting part of the, evolution that's going to come. You think that they will let Donald Trump be the only president that ever gets fucking, the FBI raiding his house and shit? Do you think that they will?
Absolutely. 100%. And the reason why is because the crimes he committed have been totally unique to crimes committed by, say, Obama or George Bush or Biden. Not that I'm saying Trump is, actually worse than those people criminally. I think, of course, George Bush's war crimes that occurred after 9/11 and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan far surpass anything that Donald Trump did. But clearly, war crimes are not the kind of crimes that the FBI cares about or that they're going to prosecute. It's more the crimes of the election, of trying to, stay in power after the democratic results of an election, denying to step down and trying to basically manufacture a coup. I think those are the crimes they're going after him on. And yeah, I think if other presidents had committed those crimes, and they absolutely would be under investigation themselves. And also, you said, oh, well, Ron DeSantis is now just going to send the FBI. No, I'm not saying that it is, but I'm saying that technically, and you can dispute this if you want, but technically the FBI is supposed to be an independent body. They're not under the direction of the president. That's why Hillary Clinton was under FBI investigation while Barack Obama was president. It's not like Obama ordered the feds to investigate Hillary. They just decided on their own that it needed to be investigated. Same thing here. I don't think Biden was go to fucking Trump's house and raid his ass, take everything he has, find it. The FBI decided on their own volition, seemingly, we don't know a lot of details, but seemingly they decided on their own volition to go raid Trump because they know about crimes and they want to take him down, or whatever's happening behind the scenes. We don't really know. But that's why I'm not as convinced that this will set a precedent that then, the next Republican president can easily just abuse.
Well, my pushback to that would be, wasn't the exact problem that all of the people, including myself and you, had with Hillary Clinton and her email server was the way that she was handling, her, private government information and public information, and handling classified information and doing so irresponsibly. And what they've specifically looked in Donald Trump's house for is the way that he's held onto and possessed classified material. So I just think that as far as the information that we know, there are other politicians who have gotten in trouble for getting busted with a classified material. And I would say that, yes, maybe not President Biden or Obama or Bush, but that was a big part of what Richard Nixon got in trouble for. And Richard Nixon never spent a day in jail either.
Well, the difference between Hillary, and again, you can dispute this, I probably dispute this, but the reason why they didn't end up charging her is because they said there was no intent. They said that despite the fact that it was a crime, what she did with the private server, there was no malicious intent there. Versus with Donald Trump, his intent was stated out in the open. It was very obvious what he was trying to do. He was trying to steal the election. He was trying to stay in power. He was trying to orchestrate a coup. So the intent's right, playing out in the open. And again, Hillary was under investigation. Nothing came of it. They decided not to charge her. So it just depends on what happens with Trump. I think that there's a lot more obvious intent there with Trump. So there's a lot more of a high chance that something will actually come of this.
Yeah, that's and also, I mean, I don't think it's 100% clear that the classified documentation is linked to a January 6th. Do we know that for a fact yet?
I don't think we know that for a fact yet, but he's clearly in possession of classified materials and seemingly destroying evidence. So I don't know what else that evidence would be in relation to.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't want to narrow it. It could be like crooked business dealings. It could be like, I don't know, stuff with Saudi Arabia. I don't know. I'm just saying there's a potentiality for all kinds of stuff that we shouldn't rule out. So anyway, I hear you, the point that you're making. I'm still skeptical that they're gonna, that this one FBI raid is going to lead to actual, like, I see Donald Trump, which I would love to see. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted, folks. Right, as Obama would say. I want to see fucking every single one of the people we've mentioned. I don't care if Ron DeSantis comes into power and decides to imprison a bunch of former presidents or whatever as retaliation. All I'm saying is that a thought experiment that could happen. I would love to see all of these people in orange jumpsuits at the end of the day. But yeah, I don't have any faith that the government will go down that rabbit hole, because I think they're going to be at least they'll all be paranoid that in the back of their mind, like, oh, if we put Trump in jail, then one of us could get put in jail for something shady that we do, and we all do shady shit all day long. So that's my only reason, and that's definitely why they never went after Bush, why Obama never went after Bush or the bankers or any of that shit.
But again, that's because they all planned on continuing the status quo and letting the Pentagon run amok, letting the generals call the shots, letting the military industrial complex make our foreign policy decisions, which are war crimes and which they are overseeing. But that's just more as a result of them taking a laissez-faire approach and letting the Pentagon do what it wants. Versus this with Trump is a very specifically orchestrated and intentional crime that he came up with and is very unique from past presidents, if that makes sense. Where again, all of the presidents are going to continue the foreign policy status quo. They're all going to do whatever the Department of Defense and the Pentagon wants them to. So they're all guilty of those crimes. This crime is a unique crime. There has never been a president, not even Richard Nixon, that tried to stay in power after losing an election. So I do think that's a unique situation.
No, it is a unique situation, and I will be more sympathetic to that if we do find out conclusively that the documents that he's been hiding are 100% related to him trying to steal the election, and that would be much more incriminating to me than just random classified documents. I don't know what they are, but yeah. And obviously, like I said, I don't give a shit what happens to Donald Trump. I'm just speculating, the political landscape that will emerge as a consequence of whatever road we go down. But yeah, I do think it's hilarious, to your point that you were making earlier. Obviously, the blatant hypocrisy, and it's obviously like, water's wet, pointing out the hypocrisies latent throughout the Republican Party, right, and cognitive fallacies left and right. But the fact that their whole fucking chant scheme in 2016 was lock her up, right?